Anyway, what's next? Who's next here?
All right, this is from a new member in the community. So welcome, Paul. And this is sunset over Tokyo Bay, Rainbow
Wow.
Bridge, and Tokyo Tower in the background, shot in 2014.
Shot in what?
2014.
Oh, 2014. Got it. Okay. Yeah, this is cool. It's got a lot of interesting elements to it. Your Ansel Adams has this very cool photograph of the some rocks in the foreground, and behind the rocks are peaks, and they're mirroring each other. And you're using that same element. I like that kind of mirroring of geometric forms because you've got the angle, the triangle, pyramid shape of the rock being mirrored by the bridge, and that works really well. You've got a long exposure, I see, with the wave as being blurred out. So I'm assuming you probably have this on a tripod. If not, you've got a good steady hand, and that works really well. Um, you might consider, I'm just, visualizing this for myself, but you might consider a shallower depth of field on the bridge. But on the other hand, I'm going to say, it works because you're really showing the contrast between these two elements. And contrast, by the way, is a compositional tool. It's in my book. And also the lines, the mood lines that you have on the bridge there, that is a compositional tool. You got a lot of different compositional, and that stripe of um, pinkish light, yeah, definitely adds interest to it. So overall, I believe, this is a good photograph and it works really well. And thanks for joining us. I don't recall another photograph from Japan, so you may be the first. Good job.
All right. This is from our friend Christopher, who I believe is with us in chat. Let me
Mm,
find if there was a caption that came with these. Nope, there isn't. So,
that's cool, Christopher. Washington Square in New York City, a slow shutter speed framed perfectly within the arch. You see, if you hadn't framed it in the arch, it would compete and it wouldn't work. So that's a really good one, Christopher. You're a great photographer, and this is another example of your skills. Waiting for the person, I don't know if I guess they're set up there doing something, some kind of dance, probably got some music going. You move to the right spot. You have a long exposure. Maybe you've got a Sony with really good stabilization. Maybe you put it on a tripod. I'm guessing it was probably handheld. It works really well. It's a good one. Thank you.
all right. I think we got time for a couple more before you have to head out.
Got to bail out here in a
Um,
second. Oh,
this
that's
one is
awesome.
from Amir, a good friend of the show.
Awesome. Immediately, I like it. I just love lightning. It's, remember what George Lucas said? He said films are kinetic. Well, how much more kinetic energy can you get than a lightning bolt? I think that's really good advice from him. And going back to Christopher's a moment ago, we had kinetic energy there. That's going to work. It doesn't work all the time because sometimes you don't want that. But in this case, these are two different examples of kinetic energy, raw energy. And I think we're going to be fascinated as people on this planet with the amount of power that comes out of there. So the other thing I like about it is the lights on the right edge there. And Bob Holmes makes a point of using the blue hour, which this is kind of in the blue hour, isn't it? Or it's just really dark. So it's not probably technically the blue hour, but just because of the clouds, it's giving us a blue tint cast to this thing. But he talks about using multiple light sources, colors. So you have two different color temperatures going on here. You've got the really warm color temperature from the lights on the right, and really kind of, I'm going to guess, a reading off that lightning bolt would put it at, I don't know, maybe around 4,000 or something. Just a guess. But anyway, it doesn't really matter what the readings are. It's just very different. You can see it's much whiter from the lightning bolt and very warm on the right. So that's also another great element. And it just draws your eye. You don't have any question what the center of attention is. That's it. And it's an event that you captured. But because of where it is captured, it adds a lot of other interest to it. A lot of other kind of layers are going on here, the clouds and and the cliffs on the right and the water. There's a lot of different areas of interest to add to this. So bravo.
And Amir says it was in the blue hour.
It is in the blue hour. Okay, good. You're right. It's all blue.
Good timing then.
Yeah, blue hour. Remember, Bob Holmes talks about use those other light sources to augment your blue hour, and you did. So that's awesome. Okay, good work for being out in the blue hour and capturing that lightning bolt. Don't get hit. I have a story. I'll tell you the whole thing sometime. Being on top of a mountain as a young mountaineering instructor, getting up to the top, and the lightning started striking, and it was so close that the bushes were smoldering near us. That's not a good feeling, because if you're the tallest thing out there, which we were, guess what? You become the lightning rod. Not a good thing. And we made it off that mountain in record time. Down low. You wanted to get off the peak and down low as quickly as you could before one of us became a lightning rod. Okay.
I think if we've got time for one more, our new friend Jennifer from Germany has joined the group, and she submitted a photo. So.
Awesome, Jennifer.
Let's see what here it is.
Hey, good work. Jennifer Moe. Cool. And look at that. I love music. I love musicians. It's interesting how he's holding those sticks. I first thought he had his hand on the cymbal, but I don't think he does. It's in front of the cymbal. Because, a lot of times they'll do that.
I think he's reaching to grab it. Or
what are those sticks?
They're modify the sound.
They're like flat sticks. I didn't know. I'm not a drummer, but they look like flat pieces of wood, which is not your normal shape of stick. Anyway, this works, Jennifer. And I'm sure you have a lot of other ones. You might want to just look and see. I'm just curious what else you have in your series here. The only thing I would probably want to pull back a little bit, just to get a little, I feel like it's a little crowded. This is just me. It's a little crowded. I'd almost like to see him get more of the drum kit, just pull back a little bit. That's just my first thought. When I first saw it, I just go by my first impression, by the way. I just think, I like it, but I'd like it to be a little more, tell a little more story. That's what you do when you pull back. You're going to get more of the story in, and maybe even show one of the other musicians. But that's just my instant thought. I'm just going to tell you what I see and then go from there. Otherwise, it's got an interesting expression from him. He's enjoying what he's doing. And it's got some geometry in it. So good one, Jennifer. Thanks for joining us. And thank you guys, all of you. I love seeing your work. Really, it's awesome. And please do continue to work with each other in the AYP club. That's what it's there for. It's for you. And we will continue to have, critiques in the future. And we're cooking up a lot of new stuff. So take what I've said today about persistence and see how that applies to you. Here's an assignment. Everybody's got a notebook, right? You're following my advice. You've all got notebooks. You should. I have so many notebooks. I use them constantly. Here's one right on my desk. This is my official AYP notebook. So take this notebook, right at the top of the page, persistence. And then underneath that, write down, how does this apply to you? Where do you need more persistence? You can take it in the big picture, pardon the pun. What do you need to persist with in your own career as a photographer? What do you need to persist with? I am the most persistent when I'm going after a sponsor or an idea that I have. I just don't give up. I really don't. Just like George Lucas had to beat on numbers of doors, and all around Hollywood they were slamming the door on him. He had to persist because he believed in that idea. So when you've got a vision, you got to persist with it. And it could apply to photographing. You've got the scene, you got everything right, but it's not there yet. Come back to it over and over again until it is right. Persist with your ideas. Persist in your own education. This is what it's all about, guys, is constantly learning. Persistence. Get a schedule together that you persist with. I am such a creature of habit and schedules. I wake up, I do the same thing. I study hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes before I do anything, with coffee, and that's it. And that's my daily ritual. I always take a walk in the afternoon. I'm very persistent about these things because I feel like when you put that kind of format there, structure, whatever you want to call it, it allows you to build your day around it. If it's all random all the time, it's very difficult for things to persist in a random environment. Think about that. Okay. So write that word down at the top of your page, and then write down all the ways that can apply to you. And then when you find the one that really resonates the most, make sure you do it. I'd like to hear your feedback on this exercise. Go to my Instagram here. I'm going to give you guys this. I'm going to put that in my Instagram, that exercise. Okay. And then you guys can tell me how you applied it. Okay. If you haven't already followed me, please do follow me there, because it's kind of like how I keep the conversation going when I'm not here on YouTube. So you guys can do that. Please subscribe and enable the bell so you don't miss any of our new shows. Like the video and please share it and leave your comments. I love hearing from you. And remember to get out and capture your own images of life.